everybody, and welcome back to the Poor Man's Chemist. In this video, I am going to discuss a subject that I have steadfastly refused to discuss up until now because it is kind of what's on the hairy edge of being, and I hate to use this word, appropriate. I mean, guys, there are some boundaries that I am not eager to test, and this is one of them. But I am genuinely concerned by a lot of the comments that I've been seeing from people, and messages that I've got from people asking me what I think about this popular method that is used to extract DMT. First and foremost, y'all, you realize what a massive fucking felony that is for a 30-minute trip? I mean, I was young once too, and the only tryptamine I haven't tried is Ibogaine, and that's just because it's impossible to find in North America. But I mean, hey, I've lived a full life, okay? So I mean, I get it, you know, I've been there, I know, but, there's a, doing some DMT at a burn a couple times is one thing. Extracting it, which the government is just going to call manufacture, even though you didn't synthesize it, that's a whole other animal, y'all. I mean, that is get caught and you are going to go away. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just a question of how much time you will get. Unless, of course, your, last name is Biden, then I guess you could do whatever the fuck you want. But for the rest of us peasants, that's not how it works. But I fundamentally despise drug prohibition for this, just because it causes this very kind of thing right here, what we're about to be talking about. And this has the potential to hurt some people, especially people that don't know any better. And so I'm gonna kind of put myself out there a little bit, but I am gonna make this video and I'm gonna discuss this extraction method. So I mean, I want to make you aware of some hazards that I don't think a lot of people have thought of. I mean, the extraction methodology goes like this, okay? It's very simple. A lot of the times they will take a dried plant substance or that's been shredded or whatever. I think they use Mimosa, Hostilis, root bark. There's, Psychotria viridis, plant leaves, many Acacia species, various parts of the plant, they all contain DMT. So they will take, DMT is found all over the fucking place in nature, which is why being a Schedule 1 drug is just stupid. But they will take whatever the hell contains the DMT, they will extract it into acetic acid, vinegar, 5% acetic acid. That's actually not a bad choice. I just don't like using it just because, I don't know, it just seems kind of trailer parky. Also, I mean, hydrochloric acid you can buy in bulk when it's really concentrated, and then you can make, pH4 HCl till the cows come home, and, you get one jug of HCl, you can probably turn a swimming pool just about to pH4 or lower. So, I mean, it's just more efficient. But anyway, so they do that, they extract it, and then I presume they defat the acid extract, just like they do with kratom. They make it alkaline, and then they extract it into naphtha. This is a very bad idea. Now, I understand it's convenient. I get it. DMT is fairly soluble in warm hydrocarbons, but is very not soluble in cold hydrocarbons, so they extract it into the naphtha, and they put the naphtha in the freezer, and then they wake up the next morning, and, oh, DMT crystals, wee! That's great, except your DMT crystals aren't perfect. They have inclusions in them, the solvents in there. So even if you take out the crystals and dry it, that doesn't mean you're getting rid of all of the solvent that's trapped in the crystal. Now, naphtha. What naphtha actually is a witch's brew of hydrocarbons that the only criteria to be okay, naphtha is it's cracked petroleum. Okay, they take oil, they heat it up, and with some catalyst, and that breaks it apart into lighter hydrocarbons, and then they distill the resulting mess, and from that you get all of the wonderful hydrocarbons and organic compounds that make civilization go. Well, naphtha is just whatever the hell boils within a certain temperature range. Okay? There are other criteria that go with petroleum ether, which isn't really ether. It's just, I think it's like a mix of pentanes and hexanes, isn't it? Is it all pentanes? At any rate, it's a similar product. But there's a big difference between petroleum ether, which is very light hydrocarbons that evaporate away pretty easily, versus naphtha, which has a fairly high boiling point and, contains all kinds of crap that is really not great for you to be smoking. I get it, it's convenient. You can go get it at the hardware store, and you found some websites, that told you how to do this, and they said that's what to get, and oh, look, it works, and I get DMT crystals, and it's so easy. Yeah, but you're smoking naphtha. Unless you are taking the crystals, drying them thoroughly, crushing them, drying them again, making sure that every trace of the naphtha is gone. Somehow, I don't think you're doing that. And even if you do, again, naphtha is kind of hard to completely eliminate. Also, there is some fairly nasty things in naphtha, like, various alkylated benzenes that may or may not be benign-ish, although I think a lot of those hydrocarbons are found to cause cancer at some level. And and if you're extracting DMT, and I know how it's going to be for y'all, you get successful once, you're going to do it again, and again, and again, and you're going to get careless, and you're going to get sloppy. And you keep doing this all over and over and over and over again, your lungs are not going to thank you for that, okay? Now, I know, because I get it in the comments section, well, what would you do, Mr. Chemist? What would you do? First of all, I wouldn't commit a massive felony for a 30-minute trip, but let's take the hypothetical that Joe Biden and his dementia sign some executive order that legalizes DMT. Yeah, shit like, that's actually good for people. That never happens. So that's a pure fiction. So, any Mr. or Mrs. or, non-binary other kin law enforcement person watching this is a pure hypothetical. Okay? Anyway, I really wouldn't go about extracting it, because there's nothing in nature that produces a large amount of DMT. I would synthesize it. Because despite my first video on the chemistry of tryptamines, the synthesis is not as difficult as I made it out to be. Intentionally, I have not given... I don't make it easy. These are not how-to videos. I am not encouraging or condoning anybody committing any kind of illegal action. We can discuss the chemistry of things, but, that does not mean that I, am encouraging you or condone you doing this shit in any way, okay? But there are other solvents that DMT will dissolve in, alright? And we know this because we can go to the scientific literature. We can look up papers on the synthesis of DMT and the synthesis methods that have been employed, and we can see what they've done. Now, I am going to bring your attention to a marvelous little paper that, if you're on Discord, you've seen me talk about before. And it is the characterization of the synthesis of N,N-dimethyltryptamine by reductive amination using gas chromatography ion trap mass spectrometry. I hate that word. In this synthesis, in this paper, they explore a basic synthesis for DMT from tryptamine. Okay, and the whole paper is just about them trying these different synthesis. Well, it's one synthesis, and they tweak the molar equivalents of the various reactants in it, so they change the amounts of the stuff that goes into doing this reaction, and based on that they ended up getting either a higher or a lower percentage of DMT. There was, when they had certain ratios, there were some side products that were formed and not others, and other ratios others were formed. You can see everything on the little table right there. Now, what's important about this synthesis method is when you get down through it, after they've reacted the tryptamine with the 37% formaldehyde and methanol, glacial acetic acid, and cyanoborohydride, once they've done all that, they extract the DMT freebase out into chloroform. Oh, chloroform. Chloroform is a nice, very easy to evaporate off. You don't want to smoke it either, dear God. I mean, it's also not great for you. But when, well, first of all, you can't use DMT. Or DMT. God damn it. Too many acronyms. You can't use DCM. DMT reacts with DCM. But they chose chloroform as the solvent that they used. DMT freebase extracted into chloroform, from what I can gather from reading this, would be a lot like the kratom alkaloids extracted into DCM, which, just as an aside, you can extract the kratom alkaloids into chloroform as well. That also works. I know, I've tried it. Go look at the first kratom video. So, you would extract everything out into chloroform, evaporate off the chloroform under vacuum, using mild heat, exactly like the kratom alkaloids, although protect it from light. I think DMT is photosensitive. And then it would be just a question of, once all of the chloroform has been removed, dissolve it in a small amount of ethanol, suspend the ethanol solution on a combustible inert matrix like tobacco, dry it under vacuum, and then you would have your smokable DMT. If it were legal, that's how I'd go about doing it. Although, again, I would probably just do the synthesis, since nothing in it is overly hard to acquire or make, except for the cyanoborohydride. That's a tricky one, but, again, I have no intention of ever doing this. I've never looked into cyanoborohydride. Regular old borohydride has always worked for the stuff that I always do. But then again, I'm not stupid enough to commit a massive felony for a 30-minute trip, no matter how good that fucking trip is. It's just not worth it, y'all. It really, really isn't. And some of y'all are going to end up paying a really high price for this, because, again, you keep doing it, you will get caught. You have to be right every single time. The law only has to be right once. You've got to get away with it every time, but they've only got to catch you one time. You will get sloppy, you will make mistakes, you will get too casual about it. When the fear is gone, and because, there's a lot of people out there that are talking about DMT. You got Joe Rogan goes on about it, from what I understand. I've never listened to the guy, but whatever, cool. I think it's great. I think it's great to bring awareness to it, and I think it's great, maybe we'll finally get some motion on, making this unregulated, but I think it's a bad thing because it gives people the impression that this is not a big deal, and it is extremely, massively, it is a big deal. Celebrities can do this kind of shit and talk about it on the internet. We cannot. Okay? I really hope this reaches some of you and that you listen to what I'm trying to say, y'all. Do you really want to go to prison? Especially for those of you, I think if you're extracting DMT, you're not making meth. I don't think you're making the world a bad place. I don't think you're an evil person. I don't think it makes you a bad person. I don't. I have no moral or ethical problem with that. This is not like meth, which is why I even made this video at all. People want to kill themselves making meth. I genuinely don't care. That's natural selection at work right there, so far as I'm concerned. I despise that fucking drug. Anyway, I'm sorry. It's really hit home with me in that it's fucked up a lot of my family members, a lot of my friends. That and coke. I have watched that destroy, meth and coke destroy more fucking lives than anything else, except for maybe ethanol, which is the most vile drug of them all. Well, I don't know. It and meth are kind of on the same level. In my book, anyway. I understand y'all don't share that sentiment. I mean, just know that for you DMT users, I'm at least sympathetic to you. For you meth heads, it does me no good to sit here and rage and you know, let myself be. I just don't care. Everything around the subject of meth is toxic. So I don't even want to talk about it. But anyway, DMT, I don't feel the same way. You know, I really hope some of you listen to what I'm trying to say. I really do. I mean, going to prison, blowing out your lungs from, you know, smoking petroleum distillate, not a great thing. Don't blow out your lungs smoking chloroform either. That's not a good thing either. You know, basically, if you have to ask somebody how to make chemicals that are intended for human consumption, you're not the person that should be making chemicals for human consumption, or animal consumption, or plant. Fuck, I'll call it a crime against life if you feed it to bacteria. Anyway, yeah. I mean, anybody that is competent enough to do these things doesn't need to have to ask people how to do this shit. They don't need to. They don't have to, because they know. I mean, not that anybody that hasn't taken a fucking year of organic chemistry wouldn't know, or just sat down and read the fucking organic chemistry textbook. I mean, how hard is that? It's not rocket science. It's organic chemistry. It's just a lot of memorization. If you can memorize things, you too can be an organic chemist. It's like the fucking biology of chemistry. Well, actually, biochemistry is the biology of chemistry, but, yeah. Because you don't have to do anything else except be able to memorize shit till you get pretty far along in biochem. Anyway, I know I'm getting off on tangents. I really want to... I hope that this prevents harm. I do. The whole point of this is harm reduction. So, again, not intended as a how-to, absolutely not condoning anybody breaking the law, or risking going to that god-awful place, prison, which, in my book, is pretty much, you know, it and death vie for which is the worst thing that can happen to a human being. Yeah, you really want to avoid that shit, man. I'm telling you. Especially now. Especially now. Now's not a good time to go to prison, people. It's probably not going to work out well. Anyway, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, well, I fully expect that there are people that won't like it. Subscribe, comment, share the video, donate a few bucks if you found value in this, because I'm really fucking putting myself out there to make it, and I'm not taking an insubstantial risk here, but I really hope this helps somebody in the long run. I'm willing to do that for that. So anyway, till the next one, y'all, I will see you later.